everybody.
Hi.
I'm really excited to, I was telling Rachel a little before we started, I've been wanting to have the three of you on a podcast for a while. So my wife and I had our first date at Possibilities.
No way.
Yes.
Aww.
And I'm going to tell you the really long story about it. We've been together now for a little over 4 years. We just had our second wedding anniversary. And at the time, so we met on Bumble.
Nice.
And dating app, no shame in that game. And with Bumble, the women have to message first, right? So at the time, this was a side hustle, and I worked at Metro Mattress as a sales manager. But when I set my profile up, I was very specific in occupation. I put owner of Eat Local New York instead of sales manager at Metro Mattress. So I thought it might look a little bit better. So when Rebecca messaged me, she said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you own Eat Local New York. I follow you on Instagram."
Nice.
So we were messaging back and forth, and I had asked her, "What's your favorite restaurant in Syracuse?" And she said, "Possibilities." And I had never been to Possibilities. And so I said, "I've never been there." And then that led to asking her out on a dinner date, and that's where we went on our first date. And now we're married, so it's all thanks to you.
Where did you sit?
We sat in the booth.
Perfect.
And we went back, I think, for our 1 year dating anniversary and requested to sit back in the booth.
Nice.
And we ordered the exact same dish. We both ordered the gnocchi for dinner. She knew her internal note to self on if it was a good date was if she ordered dessert, which she did. And you had the whoopie pie on dessert at the time.
Nice. Yeah.
And a few months later, I tried to recreate that, and I did not do a good job of recreating that at home.
At home. Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah, at home, yes, yeah. But yeah, our first date was Possibility. We went to Empire first to get a beer, and then we waited for our table and came back over to Possibility.
Nice.
So,
We're honored
those,
to
we like
have
those
been
love
that.
stories.
yeah. I'm sure there's thousands of them from over the years at Possibilities.
There are a few,
Yeah.
and I love hearing about all of them. It makes it feel like worth it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We, during sort of the height of the pandemic, when everything was still shut down, a couple friends of mine and I were walking around downtown one night taking pictures. And we walked past Possibilities. I don't know who it was, but a gentleman came out because we were like standing in front of Possibilities. I was taking a picture of, the lights. And he just came out and was like chatting with us. He was like, "Do you guys have a to-go order?" Or, and we chatted with him. He was like, "Do you want some bread to take home?" And, it was just like this great experience. Always had great experiences and interactions at Possibilities.
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Was that during COVID then?
Yes.
I think it was my husband, Frank.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Awesome.
He's in the mattress business, by the way.
Oh, is he really?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is really funny. Yeah.
But he took a side hustle, and he was doing curbside for pastas during COVID. So
Yeah.
That's amazing.
it was funny.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Those first few weeks, it was just basically family and managers, and we had 2 staff that decided to stick it through, and
Yeah.
So.
I can't imagine what that was like as a restaurant owner, going through that. But I will say that the systems that you put in place for curbside pickup, I mean, it was just, there was nobody else doing, making that as smooth of a transition as you did.
Yeah.
It was really great.
It looks smooth from the outside.
Yeah.
Some days.
Yeah.
Some days it definitely did not.
Yeah. But it was, thank you for that, because
Yeah.
we really did. We were just talking about our manager meeting today, because I just have to give everyone a round of applause that really,
Yeah.
put on a lot of hats to get through that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Managers that don't normally deal with the customers or on the phone were really just doing everything they could to get us through, and
Yeah.
it was really, really great.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few places that I look at and I kind of point to an example for, people that we work with, restaurants and clients, and like I said, just your smoothness of that was one of them for sure. So how long have you owned Possibilities? It's been a while.
Oh, yeah. So 12, 22, 21 coming up will be our 39th
Wow.
year in business. And I was telling everyone this year it's kind of cool because it's the same date backwards and forwards this year.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So something
Palindrome.
really amazing is going to happen. I just
Yeah.
know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, 39 years, and we started over in the SA&K building, which is
Okay.
where right across from the State Tower
Yeah.
building, and so we started there. And by the time we left there, we were the only tenant in that building.
Wow.
So 7 stories,
Yeah.
and our little lights were on downstairs. But it was being sold to a developer outside of Syracuse, and the rent was going to go up. And so in the meantime, we had made friends with some of our clients, Bob Doucette and George Curry.
Yeah.
And they were starting Armory Square, or we weren't, I don't think it was actually named that yet. It was just a building.
That's wild. Because was it a lot of factory still back then?
Not so much. It
Or
was
warehouse?
mostly vacant. There
Okay.
was just a recently vacant chicken processing plant,
Okay.
and there was a short stay hotel, and there might have been like a dirty bookstore or two.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't much going on down there then.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what's everyone's role at the restaurant?
I run the daytime kitchen, so I do all of the prep work. We work on menu development
Yeah.
and recipe development and get all the food ready to go. So that's
Yeah.
been where I've fallen into. And Rye,
I run the front of house.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah.
it's kind of funny how we all found it's like this bizarre, like you could have probably have asked us when we were growing up or teenagers, like, no, I don't think this is where we'd be, you know, but then we all kind of found our roles in this like really magical way. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty wild.
What was that like growing up and being the family that runs Possibilities? I mean, I know I'm making it this really massive deal that you're the family that runs Possibilities.
Well,
but
it kind of is like
yeah.
a little bit, it's like kind of like, oh my God, you get free food? Like that was the number one question from every kid, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And if
That's kind of
I'm there with you, do I get free food?
Yes.
That's also a big one. I definitely used it to my advantage later in life to make friends. And
Yeah,
just
definitely, me too. And then we had to have like a talk and like, okay, everyone, you have an allowance.
Yeah.
This is getting to be a little much.
Oh my God, we did have to have an allowance at a certain point.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were there a lot. Just growing up, I think we were there more than we were at home.
Yeah.
Probably at times,
Yeah.
definitely. We had a courtyard, which was helpful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of accidents happen in the courtyard. A lot of tag games
Yes.
gone wrong.
Yes.
Heads smashing into brick walls and whatnot.
Yes.
But it was, it's like I can't imagine not having had that.
No.
Birthday
think-
parties.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
like having one moment realizing, oh, there are people here at dinner and I'm running around. I had this like device where I could like hear people's conversations. It was like a little sound wave thing, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, okay,
you know,
yeah.
I was like, okay, this is probably not appropriate. Like this is not my home.
Right, yeah.
But it is at my home, but I gotta
Yeah.
maybe like not make people feel uncomfortable, like I'm spying on them. But yeah, I think it's also just made us all very like, not hyper aware of things, but just like the understanding of people and movement and space and lighting and all of that. I think it's
Yeah.
just all kind of now ingrained in us.
Yeah. It's really, I grew up in my parents grew up in, their career is always hospitality. Dad was a chef and owned, different restaurants throughout the years. And especially when I was maybe 10 or 11, we grew up in northern Kentucky and then moved here when I was a freshman.
Oh.
And so my parents had a 50s style diner, and I was homeschooled. And so whenever I screw something up, I blame it on my education. But they had this diner for about a year and a half, and probably a year leading up to it to like get it ready and renovate it and everything. But for that time, we were always at the restaurant. I mean, my siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody was up there working at the restaurant. I'll never forget, we always had the tradition of coloring eggs for Easter. And my mom was just working all the time, and she felt so bad that she almost forgot this tradition that we were in the kitchen at the diner coloring eggs. and this poor high school waitress walked in the back, and she was like, "Oh, I love coloring eggs. Can I join you?" And my mom snapped at her. So, no, this is a family tradition. But that was our existence, was that restaurant for those 2 years, you know. And obviously, being 11 years old, not having the understanding of, you know, what it's the family dynamics of working in a restaurant together. But I'm just always fascinated by families that do that. And I was saying earlier, we had the Fiakkis on this morning, you know, Anthony and Alex and Noah. And to find a restaurant that not only is extremely successful, not only does amazing things with their space and their food, but that's also family run like that is really special, especially in a small community like this.
One of Rachel's first jobs was mixing dough at the bakery.
It was. Really? Yep. One time I forgot salt in the mix, and anyways, so no, but I think it's also how you've kind of formed our management team. It's like we have 11 managers.
Wow.
So that includes the head of a department and a supervisor, I'd say. So it's a really big team, and we all communicate and we all make decisions together too. So it's like, it's us three, but it also feels really family centric because how we all communicate and laugh with each other and you know, work with one another, but have worked, some of our team have been with us for
30 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So.
Yeah. What was it like when you first opened? I mean, after you made the move to Armory Square, you know, what was that like back then? Were you thinking, I'm going to build this pasta empire in Syracuse?
Oh, well, we had 2.5 years of trial and error in our first location. And we added the bar when we moved to Armory Square, and we added real weight service, which we had no idea what we were doing. Honestly, we didn't. So we had this idea that worked well at our first location, which was just the, you know, cafeteria style lunch.
Yeah.
And we brought that with us. But the dinner was expanding into more nights a week and with the bar. So we were just trying to blend that all together.
Yeah.
And it was pretty well visited right away because there was quite a bit of lead up to this. It took us over a year to build out the space.
Wow.
And in the meantime, we were still open at the other space. So we got a lot of people excited about this neighborhood. We did get a big goodbye party from our customers that were near us in the State Tower building, as if we were never going to see them again because we were going so far. We're going across the whole city, for God's sake. You know?
That's
and
funny.
they just
5
thought,
blocks.
they were like, "Good luck," you know, over there. It's only 3 blocks away.
Tumbleweed down the road.
But the neighborhood was very entertaining, I guess, in the beginning. We had a lot of. Well, there was just nobody but us open at night. So there was a lot of, it was the red light district of Syracuse at the time.
It's amazing to think, I mean, I've been, you know, I'm 35, I've been back in Syracuse for 6 years and, you know, went to high school here and just, I think like a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, like a lot of people I know, couldn't wait to get out of Syracuse.
And then always come back.
Exactly.
That's our story. That's all of our friends'
Really?
stories.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but so many.
Oh, yeah.
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 Totally.
So where did you go to high school?
It's
a complicated tale.
Like you said something earlier there, I just want to go back to that. You say that you always, when you do something wrong, you blame your education, being a homeschooled person. I also do that. And it's just like a joke, you know, and we went to every school in Syracuse.
Basically.
Oh, really?
We ended up both graduating from MPH.
Okay.
We also went to CBA. You went for almost your entire high school.
Okay.
And then Ed Smith and Montessori.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Montessori is where the math got
That's
set.
where the math really worked for us.
Not really.
Oh, God.
Love you, Montessori, lifelong learners.
Yes. They were great in many ways.
Yes.
Every time I screw up something, especially when it's math related,
Yeah.
I say, I was homeschooled and raised in Kentucky. It's not my fault.
That's good. Yeah, so we ended up graduating from MPH, and then I went to school out in Oregon.
Okay.
And then stayed out west for 10 years after college.
Yeah.
College and then afterwards, and did a mix of things, thinking like, oh, California forever, kind of.
Yeah.
Then came back home to kind of feel it out, started cooking out west.
Oh, okay.
Then was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to just go home for the summer and kind of feel it out. And they had like a master plan basically to like have me stay. And anyway, just everything kind of unfolded. And to be back as an adult here was a very different experience.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, there's so much more than I had remembered.
Yeah.
And there's so much space here to create. And there's people want that here.
Yeah.
And it's not like when I was living in the Bay, it was like, oh, another person
Yeah.
here. And versus here, it's like, yay, come, welcome.
Right.
We love you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love it.
I can't get over, especially over the summer, just driving around downtown and seeing some people that are on the street and seeing how they're dressed. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's somebody that looks like that and is, wearing today's styles that lives in Syracuse, New York.
Right.
Where did you come from?
Totally.
It's amazing to me the progress that the city has made over the last 6 years. It really is. I can't imagine being a business owner, a restaurant owner from, old abandoned chicken processing plant in Armory Square to seeing what it is today.
Oh, it was huge. I mean, when we first opened, the department stores downtown were even still open.
Wow.
Day Brothers,
Yeah.
Sibley's, Addis, all that was all still active, although it was fading a little bit. But it was still a very 9 to 5 downtown. There wasn't any nightlife really to speak of. There was a little bop here and there, maybe the library. I remember that. But it was pretty much just not the real library.
It was fun.
The library was kicking at night. Yes, no, it was this club or bar.
Oh, that's fun.
And it was across from Syracuse Hotel Syracuse. And there were a couple of little places.
The one with the chandeliers?
That was Crystals,
Oh.
I think.
Bring it all back.
There were,
I know,
a
we need
few
that.
spots, but very few and far between.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of abandoned and Armory Square was just, like a lot of colorful little buildings, but nothing really happening.
Yeah. That's wild. So, I mean, you've seen so much in that time, but, I mean, you've had restaurants that have come in and stayed. I mean, sorry, hold on. Scam Likely is calling me. I mean, you've seen, obviously, I'm sorry, what year?
82.
82.
Yeah.
So shortly after that, a few years later, Dinosaur Barbecue,
Yeah.
Kitty Hoynes.
Yeah.
I mean, these really impactful restaurants that, have made such an impact in the culture in Syracuse. That's what this series is really about. It's talking to people who have made this massive impact in Syracuse. And, to think of, it's like, having nothing to do with your restaurant except for, the first date story and going to dinner a few times. It's really, like, I take pride in knowing that a restaurant of your caliber and reputation exists in the city. It just really,
Well, thank you.
yeah, it's exciting.
Well,
I know I keep saying that.
Well, when we started, we had no concept of what we were doing. You
Yeah.
know that. So we were just doing this cafeteria style, we slipped in between two other restaurants doing the same format in one shared old restaurant space.
Yeah.
So it was the Granger, and they had a croissant place on one end and a Japanese tempura place on the other, and we were in between.
Wow.
And so it worked. It was kind of like
I know, where's that place? That sounds
Yeah.
Great.
it was kind of like an early food court,
Yeah.
kind of in an old restaurant that was long gone, and so that worked really well for us. But like I said, we had to move because of the new owners, and we moved on. But I mean, I don't think their dad and I at that time had a concept of a full service restaurant. We were just going to do Monday through Friday lunches, make a ton of money, and have fun on weekends. And that was we were in our 20s. So
Yeah.
It didn't quite pan out like that because we were not making a lot of money and we needed to do more.
Bud, what's your famous line?
How do you make $1 million in the restaurant business?
Yeah.
Start with $2 million.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's a good one.
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly true. So now, Rylan, so did you leave Syracuse and come back after?
I did, yeah.
You did? Yeah. Where'd you go?
Well, I left to go to school downstate,
Okay.
at Sarah Lawrence, so right
Oh,
outside
yeah.
of New York City. And then I went and did some more school in Scotland,
Oh,
and then
wow.
more school in Switzerland. And then I went out to Portland, Oregon, followed her. Then she left and went to India
What can you do?
as soon as I got there.
India was calling.
Yeah, I don't know. I had no idea where I wanted to be
Yeah.
or what I wanted to do, but I was pretty certain I didn't want to live in New York City, like all of my friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
I came home just to like kind of regroup and make some money because I had none after moving around, and then I just was like, oh, I'll rent an apartment and see what it feels like to be here for a couple of months. And
Yeah.
here we are, how many, what is it, 8 years later?
8
Wow.
years,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
How long have you been back, Rachel?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be 3 in this coming summer. So
Okay.
yeah, a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And you know what? I always
so weird.
The
I mean,
COVID years
3
have
years?
screwed up my
Yeah.
memory.
I don't know. I'm like, huh? What
Like
is
that
time?
whole year is like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, then we have to add that year in.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why, but
Yeah.
it just feels like a blank spot.
Yeah.
yeah.
It really is amazing. Like, so I left, I'm 35, so I came back 6 years ago. I left around like 24, 25. I was out in like central Texas, like near Austin area. I was in California for a little bit, and then back to Texas. And coming back, I just missed Syracuse. There's just something about it. I've never felt like, there's just kind of this sense of community that I felt in Syracuse of like, it's not a big deal to go hop over to a friend's house and hang out. That I felt like there was that weird
Totally.
barrier in Texas and California.
It's like, wait, you live over there?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like the thing that I missed the most about being back here was that. And like I said, coming back and just seeing how much has changed in the last 6 years, it's remarkable. It really
Yeah.
is. And I've always felt that like the art scene in Syracuse, and this is a general statement that I probably shouldn't make, but the art scene in Syracuse and like music and everything, it reminds me of when I was a teenager and I would listen to a Dashboard confessional song and then I would try to play that same song on my guitar and it would sound absolutely awful. That's kind of how some of the art has felt in the city to me. In Syracuse, but that was a good one. But for some reason in the restaurant, the creativity that I see coming out of the restaurant industry nowadays is mind blowing to me. The concepts that people come up with, how they brand it, how they get things to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really lucky here. We've got some like really awesome food. I mean, just so many options and so many just like amazing ethnic food options that just don't exist other places. I had a friend, who was it? I can't remember. I'm not going to search my mind for this for too long, but we were talking about Korean food and they were like, oh, you have, like, we were talking about Korean barbecue.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were like, you have that? What do you mean? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we've got like several.
Yeah.
Like, so what do you mean?
Right.
Does that not
I
exist?
didn't know that we had Korean barbecue in town, so you
Yeah.
have to tell me where they are.
Yeah.
I mean,
will.
we have the Ethiopian restaurant on, I think it's State Street. That
Oh,
was voted
yeah.
like one of the best in
Yeah, I
the
haven't
country.
been.
I haven't been.
Yeah.
I really want to go.
It's wild. Yeah.
And there's so many places here that aren't, they just are what they are.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And I love like going into these places that like, when I was living in the Bay or Portland, it's like they try to recreate the aesthetic of this dive bar that has good wings
Yeah.
and there's a history there, and you walk into Steve's
Right.
and Tip Hill and it's like everyone turns and stares at you and you're like, hi.
Yeah, it's the
and
real deal.
it is. It's the real deal. And it's like, oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't have to pretend to be anyone else.
Yeah.
I can just be me and go to these places, and it's real.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that's so distinctive to this place, to Syracuse.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you been to Steve's?
Now, is that the place where if you go into the wrong door, everybody looks at you like you're an idiot?
They do have several doors, but
That's, oh God, that's Swallows.
Swallow.
You know what? I've never been there.
They built a new entrance up front.
I really do want to go, but I've always been afraid that, like,
Yeah,
I'm going to look like an idiot.
yeah.
You want to hear something really dumb about me and Swallows? We were doing a show a few months ago called Hoagie's Heroes. Actually, we did stretch bread on Hoagie's Heroes.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
nice.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
And guess what? They were both delicious because it's stretch bread, right? But so we were doing wings. I think I told Bud this story. We were doing wings, and we went on Instagram and what's everybody's favorite wing, and so Swallows is one of them. And we ordered the wings, and I could have swore that the popular flavor was lemon pepper. Well, it's not lemon pepper. And so we ordered these lemon pepper wings, and me and the co-host are on camera for like 10 minutes eating these wings, talking about how can this restaurant screw this up? There's no lemon, it's just pepper. Just really salty and peppery. Like, where's the lemon? How do you screw up lemon pepper, you know? And then we got done, and Nick Ford, who runs Limp Lizard, who's good friends at Swallows, he called me and he was like, all right, what'd you think of the wings? I was like, dude, they were awful. There was no lemon in them. And he said, it's salt and pepper. That's the flavor. So we're eating these salt and pepper wings for 10 minutes talking about how
That's
ridiculous it is that
missing
there's
this.
no
You're like,
lemon.
actually, now that I know what they are,
Yeah.
they're the best wings I've ever had.
I still don't understand salt and pepper
Yeah,
wings, but
no.
whatever, you know, so,
I'm classic.
yeah.
Just buffalo sauce.
Oh, yeah. I'm a mild person. Change of Pace, I think, has got the best
Oh,
wings.
yeah. Oh, my God, they're so
You
good.
know?
I haven't been
Another
there in a
real
while.
They're
authentic
so
place.
good.
Very,
I know.
yeah.
You
that place
can't beat
rocks.
like a Molson or a Bud Light and Change of Pace wings. It's
Yeah.
just, you know.
Are they
such
open
a-
on Mondays?
I know.
I don't know, the
I think
new
they
day
are.
to be closed.
Yeah.
It is the new day to be closed.
We are open.
Yeah, you are.
Talking
Yes.
to the camera there.
Yeah.
That's great. So many places have got weird days now that they're open.
Yeah.
You know?
7 days a week.
Yeah.
We did close for a brief period in COVID on Mondays. That for a few weeks. I think that was the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So what was it like? What were the conversations you're having in the beginning of COVID? Just
Oh my
how
God.
to figure, like, how do we do this?
I remember distinctly, like, we were having a manager meeting just as it was all kind of coming out that this wasn't,
right.
you know, that this was in New York, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we were like, oh, maybe it won't get here kind of a mentality. And
but Syracuse, we're safe.
yeah.
Plenty of water nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then it was like very clear that that was not going to be the case. And I just remember being so overwhelmed, and I just was like, you know, spontaneously crying throughout the day. And then I remember looking at you, Mom, after a manager meeting. You're like, I think we might have to close. And I was like, for how long? And you're like, could be as long as a month. And I was like, oh my God, a month? Like, how are we going to survive? And yeah, I mean,
It was like it was impossible to believe that we would be forced to close for
Yeah.
anything longer than a day.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like, really, we're going to be told that we have to close? That doesn't even make sense. This is a cash business. We don't
Yeah.
sit on giant,
Right.
you know, emergency funds for a month. I mean, that just sounded incredible to me. But yeah, I think there were a lot of tears in the beginning just to
Yeah.
try to figure it out.
Yeah.
It was very emotional because
Yeah.
it's, you know, you don't come this far to have that be your
Yeah. for
new
sure.
reality.
yeah.
So,
A lot of people I know in the restaurant industry just know how to get things done.
yeah.
There's not much of a stop and let's really figure it all out. They kind of see the path and go for it and make it happen. And
Yeah.
I think that's why we didn't have as many places closed, especially in our area during the pandemic, as probably a lot of people thought that we would. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I just remember, like, that last day, I was like, okay, after 11, I think everyone has to be out by 10 p.m. of any public space, and then it has to pivot to go only. And I remember that night and being there, and just, it was very surreal.
Yeah.
Then the next day, we immediately pivoted to go only over the phones, and our phone lines kept crashing. And then we're like, we have to add another phone line, and we had another phone line, and we're doing it all over the phone, and hand putting in people's credit card numbers because our POS system wasn't up to date. It
wasn't like what we're using now.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like a complete call center. We had people just on the phones all over the restaurant.
We had so many funny pictures of just like, phone cords going over people's heads. And, we've made a lot of changes since then, but they were all made very much on the fly.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And, there was some risk involved with making some big, expensive changes, like changing our POS system and wondering, like, is this the right move right now? And we don't know what the finances will look like in 2 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, whatever. But everyone says it too. A lot of things came out of this tough time that are here to stay, and we've learned a lot, and we learned how to pivot and how to, make and keep the things that work. And so we are different than where we were 2 years ago, but in some ways we're a better operating machine.
Yeah.
And we have more ways of servicing and getting our customers what they want. And we've kind of modernized in a second, like how we had to do for COVID. We just had to modernize.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's really amazing just to see what everybody did. I think of like 3 Lives, during the height of the pandemic, they were shut down. They weren't really.
Oh yeah.
But John was doing live streams all night, and they would cut to like a camera with the cook, doing a cooking demonstration, and then they would cut to them doing Twitch and playing video games and doing stuff. And then he set up a donation bar. So if you donated a certain amount, you would get stuff. And so you could donate anything from $20 to get a piece of art to on the wall to $5,000 to get one of their arcade games. And one night it was if you donated, if they raised $500, they were going to shave the cook's beard, and he had this massive 2-year-old beard. And I turned in at the beginning of it, and I donated like $50, and then I came back at 2 hours later, and they were $50 away. So I gave the other $50, and they shaved his beard on camera that night.
Yeah,
that's creative.
Yeah, that was very creative.
That's creative.
Problem solving at its best.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know if that's something to point to Syracuse and say Syracuse did it, but they found a way to stay open during that time.
Yeah, they opened at right in March of 2019.
Yeah, really, really bad timing. But for a place that a lot of people were expecting them to close, coming out of it, I've never seen a restaurant that's so well branded across every single thing that they do.
Yeah.
From their food menu to their drink menu to their staff to even when you go there, they scan your ID, and that's automatically their reward system. But even that's video game themed. You level up each time, and when you get to 10 levels, you have to go face a boss, like in a video game, and that could be ordering a secret menu item or beating the owner's high score on Donkey Kong.
Smart.
Yeah, it's really wild. I mean, even their checks come in old DVD cases, with like Mario on the front.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see that kind of stuff. Existing. So what's it like with the family dynamic now? I mean, after these years, you have both your daughters in the restaurant, and
I would say it's great. I mean, there are a lot of reasons to just, I know a lot of people say it's very hard to work with family, but it's like it never really started and stopped in a way, because I think we all just communicate really well, and we have a very shared understanding as to what we want and what our goal is and what we're trying to achieve. I think as far as, creating an experience for people and making sure that they're well taken care of. Rachel and I and Ryland all share like food tastes, and so I think we're all sort of, I don't know, I would say that we kind of all operate from kind of a central brain and some days.
Yeah,
I know.
But with different like flair, but definitely it's very compatible.
Yeah.
We really do have a good thing, and we all kind of live close to each other too, so
nice.
I don't know how we managed to do that, but it all works really
We're all
well.
like in similar outfits, so
we like each other.
I wasn't sure if it was planned with the
No,
jacket.
not at all.
So,
No,
God, if I had
and the
known,
same
it's
shoes.
so embarrassing.
But no,
is.
we're all very, very like-minded, and I
Yeah.
think appreciate similar aesthetics and working with, my mom on menu stuff. It's like, I go, what about let me try that, and it's like I can understand. I think we understand each other's palates really well, which makes working together pretty fun.
Definitely.
We can also like communicate without talking pretty easily, so that's nice.
Yeah.
I just mean cues.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I can see like when you walk into it. I know what you're gonna see when you walk in somewhere,
Same.
but like
I'm training. I'm
like
training
look
on
at
her
your
eyes.
face, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go do that kind of a thing.
I have to put on my goggles when I go through the restaurant. I'm like, okay, that's okay. I need to reorganize that because I can be moving so quickly and not see the things that like they will see.
Yeah.
And so I'm like training my eyes to see all those things. There's so much to see. There's so many things.
And especially in a restaurant
crazy.
that size.
It's a crazy.
And
I
really,
world.
Rachel's back of house and Ryland's front of house, which wasn't a plan, and it wasn't something I encouraged in either of them to really come back and be part of the family business. I guess the whole thing really wasn't a plan if you think about it as I'm saying this, but to have them both have the talents in each of that department is really kind of remarkable. It really works well for us. They're not competing in the kitchen, and they're not competing on the front.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
That does help.
It's kind of great.
Are you happy that they are in the business? Because with Anthony.
What if she says no?
I know. What are we going to do?
Well, the Fiaki's in earlier. Noah said that when Alex was in Philadelphia, he texted. Noah was thinking about like getting the pizza and getting into the industry, and Alex sent him a text and with a bunch of curse words in it and said, "Don't get into this industry, whatever you do," And it was like 1 a.m. on a Friday night that he got that text. So.
Well, I am, beyond thrilled that they're a part of this with me, but I was feeling the weight and the responsibility through COVID because here are their careers and here we all are together, and I've been at this for so many decades, right?
Yeah.
And they come on board, and Rachel comes back, and really, it's the beginning of COVID, and I was super glad though that she wasn't on the West Coast having to go through all of that, but at the same time, it's not the business it was, 2 years ago, and it's definitely has a little bit more of a heavy responsibility to it now than 2 years ago.
I want to ask you one last question because I'm really interested in your answer. And has it been challenging over the years because I'm sure you've had the request to not open up multiple locations?
No, not really. I always felt like there was room for improvement and room to add to what we were already doing. And don't get me wrong, I looked at a lot of places. We looked everywhere. We went to Buffalo and Rochester, and we kind of looked at all these opportunities, but it just seemed like there was a lot to do still with just one restaurant. It's like, I don't know. How are we going to split this up?
Yeah.
Who's going to Rochester? Or, who's even going to wherever else we were looking at locally? It's just, but I do love the idea. I think I'm sort of a born entrepreneur. I do love to come up with new ideas and things, and the idea of a new space is the best, but the idea of running it as well as I want to is another challenge in itself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing.
I would like that. Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
Fly up.
Yeah.
See ya. No.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's amazing because I talk to a lot of people a lot of restaurant owners who it's like, it's a challenge to try and figure out how to get your operations to mimic what they should.
Right.
but it's still just like, yeah, we're supposed to do that, or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them who, you know, I feel like, especially in the restaurant industry, you have to be careful to not necessarily trust others' opinions, even your, you know, your raving fans who, you know, so many of them are like, oh, you could do this, you could go here and go here and be successful. And a lot of times it's important just to say, hey, I'm gonna work on making this great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's been a life's project so far.
Yeah.
But not to say I'm not interested in looking.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
We love a creative project.
Yeah. So if you have a location, call us up. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for coming
you.
down.
Thank you.
Really, you know, a big pleasure. And like I said, I've been wanting to sit down with the three of you for a while and talk. So I'm really excited that we could do it.
We were so happy to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you.
Yeah.